Hello there. My name is Lesa Cline-Ransome, and I'd like to share with you my novel in verse, One Big Open Sky. Growing up, I read book after book about pioneers who traveled by covered wagon to the West. I always wondered about the lives they lived, the hardships and challenges they faced, navigating the elements, the fear and excitement for what lie ahead, and all they were leaving behind. I wondered about the ancestral lands where they settled and the native people who lived there before them. But as a young girl, one of the biggest questions I had was, were there any Black pioneers? I never quite knew that answer until I discovered an article years ago about the very first migration of Blacks leaving the South in 1879 following Reconstruction and heading west to claim free land offered under the Homestead Act of 1862. They called themselves the Exodusters. One Big Open Sky is the fictional story of three Exodusters, brave Black pioneers, told by three female narrators: 11-year-old dreamer Letty, her heartsick mom, Sylvia, and a young, independent-minded teacher named Philomena. I'll read now from the start of One Big Open Sky. Letty, Natchez, Mississippi, May 1879. Starting out, I sat up front next to my daddy, behind our mules, Charlie and Titus, where I could smell their sweat and watch their tails flipping from side to side, aching to get a move on. And I could watch my daddy's dry hands hold tight to the reins, driving them to our new home. I waved goodbye to everyone we passed, standing along the road, out of town. The Haskins smiled from their doorway. Mr. Robbins was in his front yard fixing his fence, but looked up, nodded his goodbye. And then we passed Oda's house, where she stood out on the road, waiting. "Letty!" she shouted. "Letty!" As we neared, I stopped my waving and stared down, my arm now too heavy to lift. "Oda!" I shouted back, and then our wagon passed by, slow, and Oda was gone. When there were no folks left, I lifted my arm and waved again to everything else I was leaving: the dogwoods, hickory and oak trees, the buds of clover and wildflowers along the side of the road, budding now in the spring, the cows, horses, and sheep chewing grass in the fields, till Daddy said, "Stop that fuss now," with no mad in his voice. Up front, next to Daddy, I'd be able to see where we were going once we got on our way, and count the miles in my head like I counted out the supplies Daddy bought for us. 200 pounds of flour, 10 pounds of rice, 5 pounds of coffee, 25 pounds of sugar, 1 bushel of beans, 20 pounds of salt, 1 bushel of cornmeal, 1 keg of vinegar, 100 pounds of bacon, 25 pounds of dried fruit, Daddy's good rifle and gunpowder, 2 pistols, lard, candles, lye powder, matches and soap, frying pans and a coffee pot, our old stew kettle and Mama's sharpest knife, nails, 1 wash tub, a tent and blankets for Charlie and Titus, plus their feed too. Even the cradle Mama wanted was packed in tight. I wrote it all down in a book, like Mama whispered I should, so I could add up the numbers and remind Daddy how much we paid and how much we had left to spend for our move west. The way Daddy said it sounded like there wasn't no place I'd rather be. Except it was hard to feel the free Daddy said I was supposed to be feeling, listening to my brothers, Silas and Elijah, with their shouting and wrestling and the huffing of Charlie and Titus, and pretend in the back of our wagon I didn't hear my mama crying. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy One Big Open Sky.